Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Left Off the Map where we are making pizza, homemade pizzas. I love making homemade pizzas with my kids, but some of the pre-made bases you can get are pretty good. So we're going with a pre-made base. And I'm making a zucchini, pesto and prawn pizza. So because we're using pesto, you don't need as much of it as you would if you were not using a normal pizza sauce. So to put it on, instead of doing it with a spoon, which you would normally sort of spoon it and then rub it on like that, I'm going to brush it on, just so I can control it and have it go on a little bit more liberally than it otherwise would. So brush the pesto, and then you can sort of control how much you're putting where. It gives you a lot more control over how much you're putting on and where it's actually going. I've used probably 3/4 to 2/3 of what I would normally use with tomato. And I've got my pesto all the way out to the edge. So on mine, like I said, zucchini, tomato, some bocconcini, and some prawns. You could cut this with a mandolin if you wanted to. Some prawns. I'll cut these in half, I reckon. I like reasonably chunky bits of prawn on my pizza, but if you wanted to sort of mince this and cut it up so that it covers a little bit more of the pizza, you can do that. But this way I'm going to get some nice chunky bits of prawn, so you kind of know that you're having a prawn pizza. My zucchini, same thing. Not too much zucchini. There we go. Tomato. Now because this is going to cook quickly, I will cut these tomatoes in half. And again, I only want probably 5 cherry tomatoes cut in half. And for making a pizza like this, because we're not using a shredded mozzarella or a tasty cheese or something like that, we're not going to get all the salt that you would normally get from that cheese. So I am going to sprinkle a little bit of salt on before I put it in the oven. And these are our little baby bocconcini. So place those on. Now wherever they sit is where they'll melt, and you get little pools of sort of stringy, chewy, milky cheese. So again, spread them around. And I reckon with the pizza, if you're thinking, do I put another piece on? Always say no. So that you've got less is more with good quality pizzas. So I want some salt, because we don't have all of that normal cheese, and just a little drizzle of olive oil. And this is the kind of pizza that you could finish it with some fresh ingredients when it comes out of the oven as well. So if you had some rocket or some basil to reinforce the pesto, you could tear some basil or put some rocket over the top once it first comes out and hit it with a little bit more olive oil. All right, so that's done. Now, it's really important that your oven is at temperature and it's nice and hot. So I've got my oven set at 235 degrees, so it's really, really, really hot. It's only going to be in there for about 15 minutes, and that heat coming through the holes in the bottom and coming from the top should cook it nice and evenly. All right, in we go. "15 minutes and it'll be ready to come out." That's my pizza done. Whoop. It's nice and crispy, which you can tell just by the sound that it makes going onto that board, which is what we want. Oh, that's the noise a pizza should make itself. So that's how you make a good traditional Italian-style pizza. You think as much about the base of the pizza and how you're going to cook it as you do about the toppings that go on top of it. So we're going to head off now to two different places. Holly's visiting what we refer to as a place of milk and honey. She's going to visit a dairy, a place called La Cantara Cheese, which is just down the road from Blue Hills Honey.
We're here at the spectacular Blue Hills Honey, tucked away in the stunning wilderness. The drive here was just magnificent, and I'm joined by the beautiful Millie, who's going to tell me a little bit more about this magnificent product. Millie, lovely to chat with you today.
Yeah, lovely to meet you, Holly, and welcome to Blue Hills Honey.
Thank you.
I'm so glad you enjoyed your drive out. So we are in the beautiful Morbana, which is on the edge of the Tarkine Wilderness. So leatherwood honey is endemic to Tasmania, which is incredible. Like, how fortunate are we? It comes from the ancient Gondwanan tree, which is only found in Tasmania.
So you cannot grow leatherwood anywhere else in the world?
No.
Only Tassie?
Exactly.
Only this area?
Yeah.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
And it is so popular worldwide, isn't it?
Yeah, it's so popular worldwide. We do a meadow honey, which is predominantly clover, but a blend of different other flora, a Tarkine wilderness, and manuka, which we love.
So that is renowned for its health benefits,
Yes.
is that right?
So a lot of people purchase manuka because of the methyl glyoxyl presence, which is just an antibacterial property, which is brilliant, but it also has such an amazing taste. It's such a caramel flavour, and it's an incredible dark honey. So yeah, it's just beautiful. So the hives are actually tucked away in the heart of the Tarkine. So our beekeepers have to travel about 3 hours to get to our hives.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So they're tucked right in the wilderness.
Yes, exactly.
So no pollution, no anything
No.
surrounding them, just pure, fresh, clean air.
Exactly, that's exactly right.
So an experience at Blue Hills Honey, what other fabulous things can we do when we come out here? We can taste some honey.
Yes.
We can go to the cafe.
Yeah, so when you come and visit, come and get a coffee, try our honey. There's lots of beautiful bee-inspired products here as well. We have beautiful nature here, and we'd love you to see our scenery. We're the land of milk and honey, so we're surrounded by gorgeous dairy country, and there's so much for you to see and do in this area.
Milk and honey, what more could you possibly want?
Exactly.
That sounds pretty good to me, and I think we should also try a little bit of this.
Yeah,
I like to call
absolutely.
it liquid gold,
Yes.
and I think it is.
So do we.
So let's have a little taste.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll try the leatherwood just because it is the best of the best.
I couldn't agree more.
Yes.
So leatherwood is your best seller?
Yeah, absolutely.
Worldwide?
Yeah, absolutely, worldwide. So we can just export all over the world. Everyone loves the unique flavour.
Yeah, okay.
But
Thank you.
as well, it's so good for you. Like, in a spoonful of honey, you are getting so many benefits. It's a prebiotic, it is bioactive, and it just tastes so good. So enjoy.
Well, to health,
Yes.
I say. It does taste so good. I can't believe that's good for you. Well, I'm thinking maybe we go and have a little look around. I wasn't kidding. I am absolutely obsessed with honey.
Good.
And I want to take a huge amount home with me. So I'm thinking, let's go find me some fabulous stuff and I'll take it on my way as I
Yeah.
continue exploring this beautiful northwest coast that you are so lucky to live in.
Here's your leatherwood,
Thanks,
Holly.
Neil. Perfect. That's fine. Thank you very much for that.
See you.
And I've got my honey. This is going to keep me going for a while, or at least a week. And it seems we are in the land of milk and honey. So it's time for me to head off to a magnificent dairy farm. I'm going to check out the cheese at La Cantara. Gennaro, thank you so much for having me here at La Cantara Dairy. It is an exceptional property you have. And tell me
our pleasure.
a little bit about how you became a dairy farmer in Tasmania.
Yeah, so it was we actually became dairy farmers on the mainland and worked around there for about 5 years. And then in 2016, we secured a job as farm managers on a big property here in the northwest of Tasmania. And yeah, and then we made it home from there.
So I'm sensing that's not an Australian accent. So where is home originally?
We come from Venezuela and the north part of South America. And yeah, we came about 12 years ago. And yeah, and we have been in Tasmania for 5.5 years now.
So that is quite a change from Venezuela to a dairy farmer in Tasmania. What made you choose this region in particular? I hear it's great for the dairy farming.
You have reliable rainfall. You have the cleanest air in the world. You know, green, large pastures most time of the year. So you know, it can't get any better.
How does this automated milking system work?
Yeah, so the way it works is the cows come from the back area there, and then they get to choose on what robot they actually get milked on. They go in there, the system, you can see that they all wearing a collar, and that collar is linked to an electronic tag. So that tag will drive every single component of the system. So once they go in there, that tag is read, and then it'll tell the system that cow needs to be milked or that cow doesn't need to be milked. As I said, it's all voluntary, so they can come out and get a back scratch and spend as much as they want here, and away they go when they're ready.
So you do the whole thing here, from the cows to the milking to the making of the cheese.
Yep, so the whole process happens on site.
And people can see every element of it.
Exactly.
And then eat the cheese afterwards.
Yep, so they can come and visit, they can see how the cows come to the dairy, get milk, how the milk goes into the tanks, and then on the other side of the building they can see where the cheese is made, where the cheese is matured, and they have access to purchase some cheese if they like to, and eventually they can also try some cheese.
Well, I'm thinking that we should put your product to the test ourselves and let's go do some cheese
That's a great idea.
From the land of milk and honey to a recipe that relies on honey for its sweetness. I'm doing a poke bowl. I'm using a lemon, coconut and chilli rice as the basis of our poke bowl. So into a little glass bowl, I'm gonna add my ingredients that are down here. So I've got some soy sauce, about a tablespoon of soy, some mirin, about a tablespoon of mirin, sesame oil. I'm not just going to tip that in there because sesame oil is really strong. So I'm just going to add like a little few drops of sesame oil. Then some vinegar, rice wine vinegar. Give it a stir. Grate some ginger in there. And like I said, that's going to be almost, it's not a sauce, it's a sauté dressing. Now the rest to go with this is kind of just fresh vegetables, which is really what's so good about a poke bowl. So I've got these little Lebanese cucumbers that I'm going to cut in half and then into quarters. So I've got those there. Some spring onions. I'm actually going to, some of the whites of the spring onions, I'm going to chop little rounds. Not a lot, and just put them in with my dressing as well. And then the others I'll cut on the angle. For not only flavour, but also a bit of texture. So we've got that, which we can move to there as well. Take those spring onions out of there because I think I'm going to serve in that bowl. Avocado, which I'm going to quarter. So I've got these 4 sort of wedges of avocado. My honey from Blue Hills. This is a pepperberry honey, Tasmanian pepperberry honey. So that's going to go really well with my sort of sauté dressing. I need about a teaspoon of my pepperberry honey. Let's pop that in with my dressing. Beautiful. And then zucchini, just some slices. Now I only need a few, so I'm not going to bother with a mandolin. There we go. So now it's just time to cook and bring everything together. I am going to, just to make this look a little bit pretty, some of my sesame seeds down. Push your avocado into your sesame seeds, and you get a really pretty presentation side. And now we're good to go with our prawns. So, pan on, a little bit of oil. I'm going to saute these pretty quickly at a high temperature. So we're going to wait for that to heat up. And once it gets nice and hot, the prawns will go in and cook for 3 minutes maximum. Then I'll turn the heat off and I'll pour my dressing over the top, and that'll sort of become quite sticky and stick to the prawns, and we'll have these beautiful sticky sautéed prawns to go with our poke bowl. So while that heats up, I'm going to do a bit of a clean up here and get ready to bring everything together. Okay, steamed our rice. Pop some of our rice into the bottom of our serving bowl. When the zucchini around one side. Avocado. My cucumber. Spring onions I'm going to leave to go on top, I think. Prawns. And this dressing, I can't not put a little bit of extra on top. It's so good. A little bit of extra dressing. And then spring onion on top of that. There's my coconut, chili, lemongrass and prawn poke bowl with a really, really good dressing. You could put that in a jar and put it in the fridge and use it for other things if you wanted to. It's tasty, it's healthy, it's quick, and it's simple, it's easy to do. There's not a huge amount of technique or understanding. It's just bringing together flavours and textures that you know are going to be really, really, really yummy. Now, cooking terms that you hear quite a lot, or you might read quite a lot in a book or hear on a cooking show, and you might not know what they're talking about. Things like julienne, mirepoix, bâtonnet, dice. So we're going to go through those and give you a bit of an idea on what they're actually referring to and how to do them. So the first one is a chiffonade. So you make a little stack of your herb, like so, and then roll that up. About 1 millimetre thick pieces is what you want to cut, and that is what we call a chiffonade. So that is how you do a chiffonade. The other things you see here on the bench, we've got a bâtonnet, When that turns into a dice, you're basically turning a bâtonnet into a small cube. Then your julienne, which is this little one, once you dice that, it turns it into a brunoise. So we'll go through how you do them. And then cut the edges off the carrot, so it's almost like peeling it. And then cut those pieces in half. And that is our bâtonnet that we've created. And dice it into squares. That, I guess, is what we refer to normally as a dice. I'm using a Santoku knife. It basically makes full contact. You don't have to move it that much, so it's easier to cut things like vegetables, and that scalloped edge really helps. So you go through the same process for the julienne. Then we're going to take off little rectangles, about 2 mil. Then lay them on top of each other, and then same thing the other way. So 2 millimeters. And that is your julienne. And then to create your brunoise, you dice that julienne into squares. And that is our brunoise. So now you know what they are, and you know the best knife to use to make it easier on you when you're cutting up those funny French words.